Welcome. Welcome back. Welcome home. It's been a very emotional morning that you all are now joining us in as we gather for our second service. And I invite you to take just a moment to join me in hearing these familiar words by Richard Gilbert. We bid you welcome, who come with weary spirits seeking rest, who come with troubles that are too much with you, who come hurt and afraid. We bid you welcome, who come with hope in your heart, who come with anticipation in your step, who come proud and joyous. We bid you welcome, those who are seekers of a new or different faith, who come to probe and explore, who come to learn. We bid you welcome those who enter this hall as a homecoming, who have found here room for your spirit, who find in this people a family. Whoever you are, wherever you are, wherever you may be joining us, we bid you welcome. Indeed, a warm welcome to the First Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Ann Arbor. I'm the Reverend Manish, Mishra-Marzetti, serving here as senior minister. As many of you know, we are a progressive voice for an open and free search for spiritual, ethical, religious meaning-making in our lives and together as a community, continuously meeting here in Ann Arbor since 1865, including the preceding 18 months of the pandemic, leading us to this moment today of being back together in this space, in person. Joining us in this homecoming service is our worship team leadership, our chancel leadership, which includes Reverend Cassie Hartley, our executive minister, Reverend Theresa Rohlck, our Congregational Chaplain and director of our Chalice Bells, Carter Smith, our acting director of music ministries, Allison Halerz, our Pianist-in-Residence, and today the Chalice Bells. Join us in welcoming all of them, including our new and incoming staff members. As we gather together, this is not a time like any other, and so I'm going to take just a few minutes to walk us through some of the pandemic era related safety precautions that are in place. I'm going to speak first more broadly, and then I'm going to speak a little more specifically. At the level that's a bit broader, I'm sure all of us follow the news pretty closely on health and safety related issues, and we're aware that the Delta variant, which is now the dominant strain of COVID in the United States, has been documented as being spreadable between those individuals who are vaccinated. This has been tracked both nationally as well as locally. Now, we know we have a lot of experience at this point in time of what to do for personal health and safety, even before there were vaccines available. These include such measures as universal masking, which is what we are requiring both indoors and outdoors at UUAA. So every building, every space, outdoors and indoors, when we are together on a Sunday morning, we're engaging in universal masking. I'm not right now, I'll say a word about that in a moment. There is social distancing available in the sanctuary for those who are physically with us and would like that. You can also indicate a personal desire for social distancing through an insert in your name tag. UUAA has made significant investments in HVAC upgrades that include UV-based virus filtration technologies that are pretty darn effective. It also includes complete air turnover in this space, in the sanctuary, of every 15 minutes. Those HVAC upgrades are continuous. They're throughout the entire building, by the way. The chancel staff that is leading Sunday services, we are tested for COVID less than 24 hours prior to appearing before you in the chancel. If any of us test positive, we won't be here. We won't be part of the Sunday team that morning. All of these measures have been considered and fully vetted by UUAA's COVID advisory team, which includes highly knowledgeable experts in the field of public health. I'll also add that, for those of us living locally in Metro Ann Arbor, most of the public enterprises in the area do not have a universal masking mandate, and we may routinely be walking into situations where we don't even know whether those enterprises or institutions have made HVAC upgrades similar to what we have done here at UUAA. They may have, they may not have. It is quite possible that the safety precautions that I have described to you here right just now may exceed what you would routinely encounter by just walking into the local grocery store. So please hold that in mind and consider that. And nonetheless, nobody knows what safety precautions, what level of risk is acceptable to you individually or your family better than you do. And because of that, we are making available multimodal access for at least the next congregational year, probably moving on into the future beyond that. This includes the ability to be here together in person in the sanctuary, under the circumstances and conditions described. It includes live streaming access. You can be with us live right now at home, and some folks are doing that right now. It includes the ability to watch later in the week, according to your schedule and your convenience, the Sunday service on demand as well. There are a range of options that are available to you. We encourage all of our community members, friends, and members to take full advantage of the multimodal offerings to best meet your risk and specific health needs. Now, specifically for those who are with us in person this morning, we recognize that mask breaks may be needed. And if you do need a mask break, we are inviting everyone to please try to exit the building prior to the removal of your mask. Try your best with that, please. As mentioned, if you need social distancing, it is okay to social distance here in the sanctuary. You can also indicate a desire to social distance through an insert in your name badge. All children's activities through the end of October will be taking place outside in our lawn. This also includes the equivalent of the post-service reception and social time. All of that will be outdoors under tents immediately following the service, and your chancel team will go directly there. So if you wish to say hello, connect after so many months of not being together in this particular way, that's where we will be. We will be outside following the service. I invite you now to begin settling back into the flow of what this time together is, our annual water communion service. Those of you who are joining us at home, you might want to just find a container of water or a glass of water, something like that, to symbolically and in spirit be able to join us together in what we'll be engaged in here in person in the sanctuary. As we settle back in to that sense of welcome, that sense of coming back together, let us do so, recognizing that we are a community that's like an extended family, a family of shared ideals, shared values, shared aspirations, and commitments. In that spirit, we're going to light our chalice this morning. Reverend Cassie, do we have somebody helping us with the chalice? Excellent. John Casa will be helping us with the chalice. Thank you, John. As John joins us up front. And if I neglected to mention it, the chancel leaders themselves, we will only be taking off our masks when we're speaking, and then we'll put them back on as soon as we're done with a speaking role. We'll have our chalice lighting words up on the screens that are behind me. And John, thank you for your assistance this morning. Let us join our hearts as well as our voices as we say, we light this chalice for the light of truth. We light this chalice for the warmth of love. We light this chalice for the energy of action. We light this chalice for the harmony of peace. A community such as ours is grounded together not in a shared set of agreed upon creeds, any specific set of religious beliefs, but rather the promises we make to one another in community, to be siblings in faith together, companions in a shared journey of exploration and growth. Would you join me now in saying the words of our covenant, our promises to one another in community? The spirit of this church is love, and service is its law. This is our covenant with each other, to dwell together in peace, to search for truth in love, and to help one another. May it always be so.
As we move deeper into our time of worship together, I want to share a story. I know many of you know that I love telling children's stories and reading children's books, but today I actually want to share a personal story. It's from a time in my life when my family was going through a big change. As you may have heard me mention before, many years ago, my family had to make a very unexpected move across the country to Massachusetts. Thankfully, life turned out in such a way that we were able to come back, but at the time we thought this was it. This is going to be our new home for the future. Before we could pack up all of our stuff and start this new life, we had to, of course, make a trip to Massachusetts and try to find a house to live in. We thought maybe this trip would help us to get excited about our new state and start to feel more at ease, but actually it made things worse. Every house that we looked at that we wanted immediately sold or rented to someone else. The houses that were left were not our favorite. We couldn't find where anything was. We didn't know anyone. We already missed our friends and family. We hadn't even moved, and yet we were already so lost and homesick. At one point, we were eating lunch in a restaurant and talking about the move, and I could feel the tears stinging my eyes, and so I went to the bathroom to get a tissue. But the moment I walked in, a song came on over the speakers, a song about missing home. So I sat in the bathroom stall and cried and cried. It was a hard moment, but it was also a good reminder that sometimes when you're going through big changes, you just have to grieve. When I finally ran out of tears, I washed off my face with cold water, and I felt better. So much better, in fact, that I decided I was going to make the best out of this hard situation. There had to be a way to find some sort of joy or happiness. And for some reason, the thing that immediately came to my mind was balloons. I marched out of the bathroom, walked to the kids, and told them that we were going to the grocery store because I had a plan. And when we got there, I told everyone to go find their favorite snacks while I went to the gift section, and I asked the clerk there to make a bouquet of balloons with as many balloons as they could possibly get. She looked a little confused, but she started filling up one balloon after another. When she was done, she handed me all these brightly colored strings, and I was pretty sure I was going to float away like one of those cartoon characters. But instead, we just made a very loud scene as we walked out of the grocery store and sort of wrestled all these balloons into the car. My kids were only 2, 4, and 6 at the time, so they were squealing with delight at the sight of all these balloons. So many, in fact, that I completely disappeared in the passenger seat behind them, and we could barely make the drive to our hotel room. My plan was to walk into the room and release all these balloons at once, so that the kids would have the magic of seeing the room filled with bright colors. And of course, kids can play with balloons for hours, so I thought they could play with the balloons all night, eat their favorite snacks, and everyone would feel better. And it was true, already our bizarre mission was making everyone's spirits higher and higher. So it was a good reminder that when you're going through big changes, sometimes you just have to try new things. Finally, we got the kids and the balloons up to our room, and the big moment had arrived. I threw open the door, I hurled all the balloons into the room, and I waited for the collective ooh. What I actually heard was the sound of balloons exploding left and right, and children screaming at the top of their lungs. I looked up and realized that the ceiling was covered in that pokey, rough popcorn texture. I had just sent all the balloons to their doom. I frantically gathered as many as I could that had survived, and I turned and looked at my family, who were standing there with wide eyes and their hands over their ears. We sat there for a few seconds of shocked silence, and then we all burst out laughing. My plan had gone horribly wrong, and I was pretty sure one of the neighbors was going to call the police thinking a bomb had gone off. Thankfully, nobody did. But it was just enough to shake us out of our sadness for a while. And it was a good reminder that when you're going through big changes, sometimes you just have to expect things to go wrong and laugh it off anyway. I think that story has been coming to mind a lot lately because even though we're coming home to UUAA rather than leaving home, this is still a time of a lot of change and transition. Sometimes we're going to want to cry. Sometimes we're going to have to try new things. And definitely we're going to make a lot of mistakes. But hopefully we can try to laugh it off and give ourselves and each other a little grace. Because that's one of the most important joys of being in community together. No matter what the next days, weeks, months bring, we will face it together. Thank you for being part of this beloved community. Thank you for coming home.
As we prepare to participate in our Unitarian Universalist, our annual water communion ceremony, ritual, tradition, I want to say just a word of context setting for those for whom a water communion ceremony might be a bit of a newer thing. I'd like to invite you to just think about and kind of move into the nature of water as a unitive, as a connective fluid. Thinking about our own embodied physicality, bodies that are over 60% water, an essential building block, in fact, the essential building block of these physical forms that we inhabit. Even our bones, the densest part of our bodies, more than 30% water. I think about this gorgeous state of Michigan that we live in with its abundance of natural water resources, and how in the months that have just passed, so many of us try to find ways to intentionally connect with those sources of water, be it swimming, kayaking, beach trips up north, boating, whatever it might be, just walking along the Huron River's edge, instinctively yearning for that sense of connection, that sense of renewal and healing that comes from being present to that transcendent grandeur of nature, of water itself. It's in that spirit I invite us to enter into today's water communion ritual, holding those unitive aspects of water, those healing and renewing aspects of water. And we're doing so today as a community that's engaging from many different locations. Some of us here today physically in person in the sanctuary, others at home engaging with us from there, our children in the lawn engaging in their own water communion ritual from there. Others will engage later this week as they may watch and participate in the service on demand. All of these different ways of joining in. And the connecting element is that same essential connecting element that resides in each one of our bodies, water. Just as individual drops of rain flow together and can create a torrent of a river, we today do the same, engaging in a ritual where some of you may have brought vials or containers of water that are connected to you from wherever you have been in the last months, perhaps water from your home. Perhaps if you're like me, you'll pour today water from our congregational home into our shared communion bowl. Whatever that might be, in just a moment, logistically, our ushers will assist in our water communion ritual by releasing those of us that are in person, starting at the back of the rows in the sanctuary. You will notice on the inner aisles of the sanctuary there are tape marks that are indicative of what safe social distancing will be as we engage in this water communion ritual together. Our ushers may remind you and invite you to honor those distancing marks if we need any help with that. If you're joining us in today's ritual from home, we invite you to keep that container, that vial of water, glass of water, whatever it might be, close by you in a meditative spirit, honoring how that water connects you to each one of us, to all of us as a community. Let us now join together as we engage in our annual water communion ceremony.
free from a social code that fails to serve the cause of human need. A freedom that reveals the past, but trust the dawning future more, and bids the soul in search of truth adventure boldly and explore.
Dear ones, we have begun the new church year with this ritual of water communion. Each bowl now holds some of the water that has been collected in past rituals and purified, along with the water offered today. And later, water from the children's collection of water communion will be added to these bowls. Each year that we participate in this ritual, we are connecting in even deeper ways to this community. Despite the challenges that confront us, despite having been away from this beautiful space for a year and a half. But we are finding our way, swimming in a completely new river as we begin the church year together. Yes, the waters are still treacherous and will be for quite some time, but the yearning to keep connected is real and necessary, and our connections with each other keep us afloat. No matter how we maintain connection, virtually, in person, and with multiple levels of precautions, may we do so with patience and understanding for those who have needs that differ from our own. May we do so with compassion and gratitude for those devoting their time and energies to the complexities of an ever-changing virus in order to offer guidance on how to be together again safely. Will you join me now in a time of stillness, of focused attention, a time I understand as prayer? You may imagine it as a time to reflect or meditate. I invite you to settle into your body selves in any way that makes sense to you, in any way that allows you to access a bit of stillness, of focus, that allows you to quiet the mind. Spirit of life, of love, that which holds all. I pray for patience and understanding of the complexities of our lives at this moment in time, a moment we couldn't have predicted, a moment we did not choose. May we not give up hope or become discouraged or feel overwhelmed. I pray for compassion and understanding, even in the midst of great anxiety and uncertainty, in the midst of fears for our own health, for the health of those we love, for the health of our children. May we be granted peace. I pray for comfort and support for those returning to this space, knowing that a loved one is no longer with us. May this community's love extend into all the empty spaces any one of us is experiencing. I pray for the health of the millions and millions of people we don't even know in this country and in countries with even less access to health care or vaccines. May they find healing. I pray for those who locally, nationally, internationally are reeling from the effects of climate change and extreme weather conditions, droughts, wildfires, hurricanes, flood, heat, cold. May they find protection and safety. I pray for those in Afghanistan, in Texas, in Flint, and in every place where political decisions negatively impact the lives of so many. May the most vulnerable be protected from harm. I pray for those who lost loved ones on 9/11 20 years ago, and for those who gave their lives rescuing, for all who are marking this anniversary in personal and private ways. May aching hearts be soothed. Bless this water gathered today. May the restorative powers of water remind us of all the ways we can heal and be healed. May the energy of flowing water remind us that we can act in ways to sustain not only the earth, but ourselves and each other during these most challenging times. Amen. Ashe, and may it be so.
This weekend marks the 20th anniversary of September 11th, 2001. A day that has been momentous, pivotal, not just in the life of this nation, but global history, global events. And nonetheless, that 20th anniversary was also a very personal one for me. It was the week that I began seminary 20 years ago. It was, in fact, the second day of being in seminary. What that meant was I had just moved to Boston from Washington, D.C. I had, in fact, been working for the federal government just weeks earlier. D.C. was my home, my frame of reference, and it had been for a long time, well over a decade preceding. That morning I had a job interview for my first job in the profession of ministry. I was going to go meet the senior chaplain of Milton Academy, a preparatory academy outside Boston, for the opportunity to be a student teacher and a chaplain intern working with him. Right before I left to make the drive out for the interview, I put the news on for just a quick moment, just to check weather, just see what's happening real quick. And the Pentagon's in flames. Skyscrapers are falling. Nobody knows what's going on. And all I can keep thinking of, that it's home. Home's on fire. DC's in flames. Are we at war? With whom? How? Is a job interview even still relevant? No idea. I called the chaplain, the senior chaplain I was going to meet with, and poor guy was like, "Well, you can come on in. I mean, we're just watching all of this, not understanding anything that's going on much better than anybody else." I went. I got the job, probably because I showed up in the middle of all that, made the effort. That was a Tuesday, I'm sure many of you remember. As the week continued, I'm living in a brand new town. I didn't know anybody at all. Feeling bereft and homesick. But I knew one person, I knew a minister. You minister in the North Shore of Boston. And so as the Sunday after that Tuesday approached, I decided that's where I should go. Mind you, there are dozens of Unitarian Universalist churches in downtown Boston. I skipped all of them and went out of my way, driving about 45 minutes to go to the North Shore of Boston, to a town called Marblehead, the UU congregation of Marblehead, where the minister was Reverend Mary Harrington. And some of you may recognize that name a little bit. This is the mother of my beloved colleague and dear sibling of the heart, Reverend Sam Title, at Church of the River Memphis in Memphis. I went to his mom's congregation. And there on that Sunday after 9/11, we prayed, we wept, we held each other. We came together for mutual comfort. It was an instinct, just this inner drive that in the middle of all this dislocation and not knowing anybody, I needed some sense of being held and seen. And I knew her, I knew that minister, I knew I could go there and she knew my name. I was going to go there and I was going to go home to Unitarian Universalism. I may not have known the congregants there, but we were siblings in faith. I was going to go there. Beautiful instinct. It's captured in this phrase we all know, home is where the heart is. I knew that I needed to go somewhere where my heart would feel at home. That's where I went. Little did I know, that little bit of instinct led to many things. A sense of deeper connection to a broader Unitarian Universalism beyond the congregation I'd known in Washington, D.C. It led to me and Mary Harrington becoming family to one another. Many, many things emerged out of trusting and following that instinct. Home is where the heart is. We have a very learned bunch in our community. I'm sure who knows the origins of that phrase? I'm sure there's folks who do. So now, this is one of the joys of my job. I get to go down these little research rabbit holes, which I just love. And so I went fully down this rabbit hole, let me tell you. So home is where the heart is. It's credited to a Roman naval commander as having coined the phrase, named Pliny the Elder. So imagine the Roman Empire, and you've got this guy. Now, Pliny was a person of letters, and so authored one of the first encyclopedias of the ancient world. Lived a pretty good life of service, but died young. Died young at the age of 56. Now, we're going to have even more drama. 9/11's not enough, let me tell you. I'm going to add in Mount Vesuvius. So Pliny the Elder died at the age of 56 in the year 79 as Mount Vesuvius is erupting, and he was the regional naval commander of the Roman fleet, of the Roman Navy, in a town called Mycenium, Bay of Naples, on the north part of the Bay of Naples, in a town called Mycenium. Vesuvius erupted over about 2 days, multiple eruptions over about 2 days. He gets a frantic courier message from a woman. Now, Pliny was unmarried, died unmarried, no biological heirs. Gets a courier message from a woman named Rectina, a married Roman noblewoman, living about 5 miles from Pompeii in a city called Stabiae. Now, not much, we're talking 2 centuries ago, so not much is known about a lot of specifics from 2 millennia, pardon me, almost 2,000 years. So there's not a lot we know, but I would invite you to join me in the joy of speculation. A married Roman noblewoman sending urgent message to a naval commander, who's unmarried, I don't know, who knows what the set of circumstances there might be. But Pliny no sooner receives the message, he dispatches the entire Roman Navy at his command to go conduct a coastal rescue from the villages near Pompeii. He personally is on the ship that goes to Stabiae, which is where Rectina lived. Now, they're able to get there. The way the volcano was erupting, it created these very strong winds that were pushing these ships into the south part of the Bay of Naples. They had no problem reaching these coastal towns. Once there, they couldn't leave. The same strong winds that pushed all the ships swiftly there was keeping them from departing. And Pliny got encased in the pumice and the ash that, if any of you have been to Pompeii, you've seen what some of that looks like. He died ungloriously, but in service, at a minimum, to saving potentially some of where his heart was, and more broadly, in service to siblings, to other citizens of the Roman Empire. Can't help but wonder who and what Pliny and Rectina were to each other, how much they may have mattered to one another. But look at these 2 stories, 9/11, that instinctive desire to find a place that feels like home, that a place of refuge, solace, comfort, safety. One instinct that we feel instinctively in the midst of crisis, of uncertainty. The other, which we see Pliny embodying. We show up for one another. We come to one another's aid. We don't just let one another suffer without any possibility of help, support, care. He selflessly died trying to save people as Vesuvius was erupting. These things are what Unitarian Universalists, what religious and spiritual community can be, and in fact are, at their very, very best. We are home to one another. We are an extended family to one another. We are a network of intentional care. We are one another's ship's companions, sharing a journey that yes, at times when needed is of comfort and aid and support, and other times more generally, pushing, guiding one another to grow and expand beyond what we already know today, to learn and adapt and evolve in an ever-changing world. This is the best of what Unitarian Universalism is and what our congregation, First UU of Ann Arbor, is. It's what each of you is a part of. We heard this in the words of Richard Gilbert. We bid you welcome those who are seekers of a different faith, who come to probe and explore and learn, who enter this hall as a homecoming, who have found here room for your spirit, who find in this people a family. Whoever you are, whatever you are, wherever you may be, whether it is here or at home, our kids outside on our grounds, wherever you may be, wherever you are on life's journey, we bid you welcome. And today, on this Sunday, I add to that, welcome home.
Home is where the heart is, and it's so good to see so many of you coming home online, in person, to this space. It's so good to see so many of you joining us for the first time, and we hope that you find that sense of home here as well. If you're new and you want to get to know more about us, please know that there is a special newcomer welcome for those who are in person. If you just go out these doors after service, you'll see our social hall on the right and then a small chapel called Jackson's Chapel. And we invite you to come join us there and learn more about our community, be able to ask questions and meet staff and fellow congregants. But if you have been here for months, years, maybe you, like me, missed many things these past 18 months. The joy of laughing together, hugging, seeing the kids running by laughing and screaming and playing, just being able to see each other's full faces. There's been so many things that I've missed. And there's been some things I didn't expect to miss so much. One of those has been the words that we use to dedicate our offering. They're so simple, and yet they so beautifully capture the spirit of generosity and commitment that have held our community together for generations. If you'd like to give to continue supporting our ministries and programs and continue that legacy, we're excited to say that there are actually some new and different ways of giving now. Of course, if you're joining us from home online, you can still go to uuaa.org/giving. You can still write a check if you're here, but this time we ask that you put them in the basket as you leave the service, and you'll see the baskets by the door. And because we are excited to jump into more technology, because why not? This has been 18 months of learning all kinds of technology. We now have text to donate. So you can text the letters UUAA to the number you'll see 73256. And we'll leave this on the screen so that you can continue to do that. Once you send the text, they'll send you a text back that will help guide you through the process. But however you give, thank you for your generosity and for the gift of your presence. Thank you so much for the gift of your music. I now invite you to rise as you're able and willing to repeat the words of the dedication for our offering. Together let us say, "To the work of this congregation, which is weaving a tapestry of love and action, we dedicate our lives and these our offerings." Thank you.
Please remain standing as you're comfortably able, as we're going to join together in closing out our time together today. It's good to be back together in these ways, so familiar and yet also so different. What hasn't changed are our commitments to one another and our commitments to building that better world that we know is needed, the one our hearts aspire to be a part of, where each and every one of us can live in the fullness of authenticity, where there is boundless care and support when things are hard, where people rush to be of service and of aid to one another, where rather than public recriminations and reproach, we understand one another as intrinsically related siblings, with the very water flowing through us being something we have in common, something that unites us. Go forth knowing in your bones that all of those understandings and aspirations are true and exactly what is needed. Go forth being that embodiment of love and care, each of us to the best of our ability, knowing that you do so not alone, not by yourself, fully supported, cheered on, encouraged by this extended family, this community. Until we are together again, go in peace, go in love. Blessed be.